Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all new episode of the Drone Pioneers Vodcast. People do the flying, where we have the opportunity to take a look at the unsung heroes of the drone industry and the people, their stories, and their visions. Now, I'm very happy today to have with us Mr. Adrian Peña Cervantes. I hope I pronounce your name well, Mr. Cervantes.
Well
Um,
pronounced.
Yes, and Mr. Adrian Peña is coming tonight with us from Mexico. He's from Latin America, a place that usually we don't really know much about here in the Europe, in the EU. And Mr. Peña has an extensive bio. I will have to look at my notes because it's a full resume. He's been involved in professional operation, design, normativity, legal framework counseling, and I will be asking much about legislation and all this legal aspect. People know that I'm very about legislation. I have some issues with the people legislating. Commercialization, payload, sensors application, photogrammetry, involved in various organizations that have to do with drones, extensive experience in many countries in Latin America, as well as involved here in Europe, law enforcement, military programs, civil programs. Mr. Adrian Peña, you are going to say everything else yourself.
Thank you so much for your invitation. This is really a good experience for me. You're right. I have been involved in drone industry since 2007, 2005. I have visited a lot of people in Europe. I've been in Germany, Spain, UK, and I have been working around drone industry because of my former experience as a military. My career started as an specialist in avionics with Mexican Navy, Aeronautical Navy. So from that time to now, I love aviation. It's my passion. I love it. But drones are really very nice machines that come from the general aviation, but they are producing a lot of good work. Uh, that's the reason for that word that some people use, drones for good. So I think there are many good things from drones. But as a technician, first as an avionics specialist, I understood very deeply this very nice world about guidance, navigation, and control. So I fall in love with all these robotics, aeronautical robotics, and since then I've been working in many projects. My career took me as well to the military and security world. In my first operations, I could participate in manned aviation with the Mexican Navy, taking operations for sea surveillance tasks. I belong at that time to a very important maintenance center for aircraft maintenance for Navy. And since then, I've been very clear about drones are not only nice machines, they are very specialized. They require a good focus from us as users and around aviation industry because it's really demanding aviation industry. So I am glad to exchange this experience with all your people. Uh, I love Europe. I think Europe is a good example of those that are working seriously with a high level of focus on taking these technologies to the everyday of the people and around the world.
That's very interesting. So you've been in the area, you've been involved, as you said, with avionics. So this means you've been involved with general aviation and military before drones become a part of this world. So you have seen the transformation, you have seen how, you know, this thing has evolved from the beginning. When people actually had no idea this is going to be a thing.
You're taking a nice approach to what drones mean for people now. They understand this is a huge and wonderful technology, but it belongs to airspace. And some people forget that thing around the drones. So air regulators, air authorities started more than 10 years ago taking care about drones, trying trying to get operations in the same place of manned aircrafts. ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, has been really busy trying to get these new emerging technologies into airspaces with the highest levels of safety and security. So I think that's my point of view. As I come from general aviation, I took every aspect of general aviation operations to drones. So I think that's something that people, I mean, those around drones, not really understanding aerospace, sometimes assume as a barrier, you know, so they assume it as a problem. But I myself, I think it's the best opportunity we have to get a good and nice standard for getting to the best practices, you know, the best business cases for drones, taking the aviation, general aviation procedures in mind, so taking high level of operations.
One of the reasons that pretty often I'm very critical about people legislating drones is that what I have seen pretty often, people legislating drones have no idea about drones, you know, altogether. So yes, you will have people with aviation knowledge, aviation experience that will be legislating as if they're legislating about airplanes and helicopters that don't really want us there, don't really want drone guys there. We are more a problem for them than you know, a reality. They don't, you know, there are some people and some legislators that don't really understand drones, don't understand the drone people, the drone mentality, and they legislate and make things worse. At least that's how I see it, because I've seen rules and regulations that didn't really make any sense, or they only made sense, you know, from a bureaucrat's perspective that simply wanted to get things done and out of his way. Now, maybe I'm overcritical, but I think you will have some examples and some ideas, you know, with your experience of things happening in a similar way.
You're right. People is scared. Air authority is scared about what drones could produce on air safety. That's right. But they understand drones are here and they will not get out of the scene of businesses in airspace. They will stand here and they will grow up. I remember in the first years, around 2012, 2014, you could sense in the air with at least with my Mexican air authority, this kind of trouble trying to understand. Maybe this is only when wave, you know, that will slow down. So don't worry, they will go on and they will be forgotten very soon. Then later, they understood this industry is billionaire in not only how many drones are around us, But the economics, they understood we're talking about jobs, working groups, workers, specialists, a lot of professionals trying every day to get the best of this industry, not only for technology, but as a good source of employment. So they took then that decision. I understand it, but you're right. Sometimes they come from general aviation and they sense they could understand drone industry very easy because they know general aviation. That's not the case because drones are imposing new rules. You can take the example of drone delivery, okay? And I have to say this very clearly. Some fields of general aviation are feeling this business that they have been running many years in a threatening position. You know, they say, okay, I understand. I own very expensive aircrafts, and some people is competing with me with a lower operation price and with a higher number of aircrafts, and they say, okay, stop, please. If they cannot afford the insurance, if they cannot afford the regulatory field, stop them. There are no way they can operate on aerospace. I have to say it clear, because it's not only technology, it's as well economics, political issues. In my case, in Mexico, we have a lot of drones flying around. But you know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, Israeli technology was the first to take those drone task force operations with the military. And then they were the only rulers of this technology. Now they have lost this position because there are Spain manufacturers, Canadian, USA-made drones competing so far, and they lost that business opportunity. And I mean, it's a good example of that. Air regulators are not expecting only civilian use growing, but military and police cases. In Mexico, one country like my country, as my country has a lot of problems and trouble around immigration, organized crime, many disaster response needs every time. They are understanding. I mean, air authority, all people engaged with them are understanding there is no way to stop drone industry. They have to push with us in the same direction. It took a lot of years for them to understand that. I think the same is taking place in Europe.
Now, since you have an understanding of both Latin America drone industry and community and European Union industry community, excuse me, what are the differences in mentality that you would pinpoint between Latin America and Europe when it comes to the drones, regulations, drone mentality, and the way things are done?
It's a very good question. You know, the main difference I find between Europe and Mexico is the safety management approach. You know, the JARUS, Joint Air Authorities for Unmanned Systems, JARUS is really a good example of what Europeans can do, because everybody took seriously this legal approach. not only to operate, but to manufacture and to establish legal operations on European airspace. And that's not happening in Latin America, you know? In Latin America, we are not taking the same approach. It's by country, and when we are trying to get together to understand what it could be better for all the region, there are many issues about the point of view from Mexico, from Brazil, from Colombia, from Panama. Everybody has a lot of different approaches to this aspect. But the main aspect I admire by myself from Europe is the joint authorities for humanity systems, JARUS, that they developed this specific operation risk assessment. That's one of the best documents I have found. Canadian air authorities, I mean Transport Canada, is taking a good approach to that SORA, S-O-R-A, and they have the O-R-A. I know that because I'm working closely to Transport Canada in Canada, and I try to understand the differences between SORA and ORA, and they're really the same almost. I have to say it very clearly and very cautiously. They are not copying. They are trying to adjust. But SORA obviously provided the first methodologies.
That's very interesting. Now, since we are talking about Latin America and Mexico in particular, now what we have seen in Europe and other places of the world is that usually organized crime and people who want to commit bad acts are usually one step ahead than states and other bureaucratic entities. I understand this must be pretty much similar in your region. Is that correct? Is this what you have come to understand? Has there been issues in Mexico with organized crime and the usage of drones? What's the response to that?
You know, this is a very sensitive question because, you know, we're talking about national security for my first approach. It's not only a case for civilians, it's a case for society. I mean, for people. In the recent years, at least this year, 2024, we received a new regulatory amendment for penalties for those manufacturing, operating, selling, commercializing drones for crime activities. So far, anybody trying to do that activity could receive in Mexico the maximum penalty could be 65 years for that kind of crimes. So, from the legal perspective, I feel very enthusiastic. I feel satisfied with what my authorities, not air authority, but legal framework and all the regulatory Mexican political group created. That's good so far. But you know, technologically, it is not the same because you understand that organized crime has a lot of money. They do really have a lot of money to buy, sell, to integrate those technologies into their businesses. So if you put a wall against their activities, they find another place where to go forward. And I have to say, it is sad, very, very sadly, that organized crime is now in a better position, okay, you know, taking technologies to distribute to distribution networks of the drugs to prisons along the borders. In Mexico we have two borders, one with Guatemala at the south, another of course with USA at the north, and authorities know it very well. Organized crime use unmanned aircrafts so far, and if you're trying to detect them, you're trying to get better technology every day, but it's not an easy deal for not only Mexican authorities, but USA authorities. So I think the perspective for the next years is that the force to detect and to jam for jamming those aircrafts will grow up. It's a good business case for anyone trying to sell that kind of technology, not only to government, but to the private sector. Okay? Myself, I have worked for Volkswagen Group in Mexico. They own bigger factories in Mexico. One of them took a call for me and say, Adrian, we are experiencing drones trying to get industrial espionage. They are taking pictures, taking videos, and we want to read out of those drones. So what can we do? And I proposed the anti-drone systems that we had at that time on hand, but they are really expensive. Sometimes it's not only trying to solve the problem, but maybe your budget is not strong enough. I understand these technologies will slow down their cost, I think, and in a couple of years, I expect that small groups could reach that kind of technology. But I want to finish my commentary saying this. As we are talking about drones for good, organized crime talks about drones for bad, okay? But then, if they can afford that kind of anti-drone technology, then they could counter for attack police and military-grade drones, you know? And that's really a problem because then they have as well technology to defend their positions with anti-drone technology. So in Mexico, there is a new law talking about that no one can build, manufacture, design, sell anti-drones without a specific, with a permit from federal government. That's a reality so far here.
Well, yeah, there also here in the EU, there are strict regulations about who can have what kind of anti-drone equipment, because what the authorities want to avoid is people creating problems to police drones, military drones, or to illegal business drones. Because imagine if somebody has anti-drone equipment in his house and he has a problem with Amazon, he has a problem with other companies that will be doing delivery. Now, one of the things that many people don't understand is that, their house doesn't have airspace. So if a drone is passing over somebody's house, unless they have a valid reason to suspect that this drone is violating their privacy or doing something to hinder their interests, there is no real reason for them to take action against the drone. And sometimes people will create more problems than they actually solve. Now, one about what we said before about legislators and authorities being behind organized crime. This is not only, in my opinion, not only a matter of budget, because organized crime has budget. States also have budget. The organized crime, they don't really have a bureaucracy to hinder them. They don't need 4 or 5 different authority bodies to have a signature or a stamp. They just decide something and they do it. But, for better or for worse, legal authorities need inspectors, stamps, signatures. So one of the main reasons that organized crime is ahead is because authorities have to play by the rules. Rules are there for a reason, or are there for a reason that used to be. That's another case. But in my opinion, organized crime is ahead because they just want to do something and they go out and do it.
It's a good point from you, but organized crime is in the scope of every international police force, understanding they operate in many countries, not only in my country as Mexico, but I sense in the last meeting we had this meeting 2 months ago with Navy in the symposium talking about unmanned systems. And the Mexican Navy is designing maritime and underwater drones because of the raising of the employment of submarine drones from organized crime fleets taking drugs under the sea. Wow, they have a lot of budget. You are right. They do not need airworthiness certificates for nothing. So they design and they operate. Okay, I think our society has this kind of troubles, but I think we will find the tipping point at some time because we have to do it. It's because of our children, our sons, our kids trying to get a better world with better rules. I mean, citizens, governments, states, people, we have to engage into these efforts, everybody.
As of the moment of this recording, a couple of hours ago, there was a very interesting piece of news. Actually, the Spanish police broke into a house of some criminals, drug cartel or something like that, and they actually found drones manufactured and constructed in Ukraine for the war effort, because, like it or not, today's Ukraine is the university of drones. Measures, countermeasures. If you want to study drones, regardless of the politics, the humanitarian and the war and all the suffering, this is the university of drones today. So what they found in Spain when they raided this drug cartel hideout, it was Ukrainian drones. So I understand that the same way that we were going to see black market, black market for guns and weapons, since you mentioned underwater trafficking, when the Soviet Union collapsed, there were some cartels in Latin America that were able to get their hands on Soviet submarine. So I understand that the black market for any kind of drones is going to be big. What's your opinion on that? What's your idea about
that? I think this is a good chance for states and police departments to take very seriously the technology threatening to civilians, because you're right, they have a bigger budget, but sometimes authorities have this kind of slowing reaction to these threats. Okay, so I mean, I see in Mexico very enthusiastic people working around cyber police efforts. Not only with cyberspace frontiers that civilians are as well in danger every day, but they are growing in the perspective about technologies emerging around us, drones, that kind of cyber attacks that everybody is suffering now. So I think 2010 to now, there was a wake up from police. I'm not talking about Mexico only. I sense it more from Europe, because Europe took those kind of threats very seriously because of the terrorist attacks. I mean, Mexico is not in the same level of threatening that you are in Europe. And so we're more optimistic, everybody, about, no, there is no problem. I don't think so. I think there is no case for your worries. Organized crime is only dealing with narcotics and other stuff. But I have to say this very clearly. I sense that organized crime employs as well terrorist activities as a tool. So they are not only interested only on transporting their goods from one place to another. They want now to create panic among the public. And that's really sad, because you were talking about Ukraine as the drone university, and everybody, we are every day receiving news from Ukraine that it's amazing.
The research and development down there is, every week there is something new.
Something new every week. And, I mean, organized crime is taking as well into their army new technical skills. I mean, they are not employing only killers and people with guns, but they are employing people in cyber attacks skills, and as well with drones skills. It's a matter of time. I'm sorry to say that, but in my country, I am sure that in the next years, we will experience a terrorist attack with drones. I'm pretty sure about it. So what authorities have to do right now is not only about talking about legal aspects, but taking those abilities to police, to army, to National Guard bodies to sense, detect, and neutralize drones, not only with words, but with technology. They have to spend a lot of budget creating more abilities for police departments, and the budget to acquire good technologies, affordable, not only in the technical aspects, but monetary aspects, for defending citizens from that kind of threats. And I think it's in the next years, I'm pretty sure we will experience that kind of problems here in Mexico.
In your opinion, how can this be achieved without actually strangling the industry? Because if you make the legislation too hostile to a single guy having a drone, because an easy solution would be like in some countries, there are some countries that are banning drones altogether, that you have to be this or that in order to have a drone. But what this actually means is that a common guy cannot have a drone. And that actually means that you are strangling a big part of the industry. How can this be achieved? How, what you propose, giving the means to authorities, giving the means to legislators, how can this be achieved without actually hurting the industry and the simple guy who wants to be a part of a community?
I think, okay, go. I think government has to provide both sides of the solution. I mean, you have to create an economical approach, because we are not talking about drones or machines or flying objects. We're talking about people and the way they acquire these capabilities to create money, to create economics. And I sense government has the great opportunity to provide the means for ordinary people to get that kind of businesses on hands. But as well, government has to create the means for these citizens to have the certified and the right methodologies to create these operations on aerospace. Let me tell you, in Mexico, we have more than 12 years working on drone legislation. We have a lot of time working on that. But still, the air authority is not able to convince to the citizens to understand that these rules are for safety, not for stopping them. It's only safety. But I think my air authority has to create more educational programs for those trying to get in this industry their capabilities. It's not only about someone taking a drone, it's about people taking technologies in a wider opportunity of businesses. I mean, big companies, international companies, require more drones every day. So we have to create more capabilities for people to operate and to exploit all those materials from drones, not only operating the drone. In genealogy, data, informatic data, geospatial data, that kind of businesses are really strong for people to operate. But it's not only taking the drone on air, but taking those data into the hands of people to work with them. And so, at my first response, I said there are two sides of the problem. I have to create more economical opportunities, economics around it, and I have to create better procedures to help people to operate in a safe manner and taking those interested on drone industry to create money, to create economics, because there are no other way to acquire more drones, to acquire more software, to buy more technology if you're not creating economics around it.
That's very interesting. Now, since you mentioned educating people, I'm not only critical of the legislators, I'm also critical of what I call ignorant masses. There are many people out there that they saw a video from Ukraine, they saw this, they saw a drone in the air, and suddenly they are panicking about drones. They're panicking that someone will breach privacy, which happens, but that's not the main thing with drones. They're panicking when they see a drone in the air because, they have demonized drones. In my opinion, it's not only drone operators that should be educated, but also the people who are not interested in drones also should be educated to understand what is and what isn't. Because as I told you, I see even today that people are starting to understand what drones are. I see a spectrum with two ends. One end is still disregard drones at all. There are people who still think that drone is the toy. And then there are people who demonize the drone, and as soon as they see a drone in the air, they're afraid that it's against them. How would you handle, by a legislative point of view, the need for education for people about drones that they are not into drones?
Well, I have to say it by my experience in Mexico. We have a lot of good opportunities in my country to people to understand how to operate and how to take in a safe manner those operations to create economics. Because we have training centers, we have normativity, taking very seriously the formation of the drone operator, how many years, how many materials they have to assume to get the licensing or government authorizations to operate. But you said something really important. It's not only about to operate drones, but those masses that ignore the realities requires well a lot of public education, okay? And legislators have to create more and more materials to explain to the public the reasons drones could be dangerous for some activities. But sometimes I think, that's my opinion, that regulators assume that people knows everything. And they say, okay, I say it in a law, written law some time ago, so if people is not taking care of reading that law, that's not my problem. But it's not really the same thing to know that there are laws and to see those examples in my environment. I mean, since the early stages of learning, people is acquiring knowledge. So I have a program here in Mexico with a program of mine, my social responsibility with my countries. I developed a program named Drone Kids. It's aerospace education for our kids. That's the name of my program. And I see the faces of those little boys and girls when I'm talking about, wow, when you grow up, you will be not only pilots, you will be engineers, technicians working on drones. That's for sure. This technology will go forward and will be bigger every year. But when they understand that aerospace is very sensitive to those flying around, I see their faces and they say, okay, I get it, I understand. So if I fly a drone near to the airport, one of those big airplanes can ingest the drone through the turbine. So, wow, a lot of people can die. So when you see a small kid of 10 years or 9 years talking to you seriously, you understand, everybody can understand this, but we need to expand this knowledge about the population with educational programs. So I think schools, middle schools and universities have to take this seriously, taking workshops, fairs about drone technology to the kids to understand better what they can do, and taking that big mind of the kids to a very serious approach to operate in the right manner. But as well, I am pretty sure it's not only about only operating drones, but maintenance technicians will be needed very soon for that kind of drones. Designers of the new drones. And everybody's talking about air mobility, urban air mobility. I don't know what you think about it, but I sense this will be a reality. I mean, not in 5 years, but at least in 10 years more. I am sure we will have drones in the cities operating. So our kids need to get in that train for going to a better future. But in the middle, you told that very clear idea. Legislators have to take care of this very seriously. You have to understand not only technology, but growing and employment opportunities for the next generations, and in the middle, organized crime and those working on drones for bad have to be very clearly scope. They have to be identified very, very soon. And we have to take care about those activities, not only legally, but educationally, to take care as a society for drones. That's my perspective.
I'm very glad that you mentioned this Drone for Kids initiative that you have taken. One of the things that I have been saying for some time now is that if you have Russia, the Russian Federation, or China started implementing drone education in their education programs, I think also the Western world, the Latin world, should have drones in schools, because this is the world tomorrow. And if some countries are doing it, also other countries should be doing it.
It's not only for legal reasons or for industrial reasons. I mean, it's for a humanity perspective for air industry, because ICAO, International Aviation Civil Law Organization, understand deeply in the recent regulatory issues they took in the Annex 6, Part 4. They foresee a world with drones everywhere. So they say, okay, I cannot hold anymore that force from people to operate. I have to help them. I have to help them. So let's help to the next generation to get a better and robust approach to drones. You're right. This could be a good opportunity for every state in the world to develop kits from early stages to take this industry up with a good perspective.
Now, one of the things that I've been saying to people who want to listen is that, yes, at the moment, the drone industry is a young industry. It's not difficult to become involved one way or another with the drone industry. But at some point, it will not be enough to be just a drone operator, a drone pilot. You will have to be a drone operator plus a businessman, or a drone operator plus, a drone operator plus that. Because at some point, there are going to be so many drone operators that in order for you to stand out among the crowds, you will need to be able to put also something else on the table. Now, it might be easy for you, Mr. Peña, because you already have decades of experience and you have a bio, credential, a big resume. But what is your advice to people that are starting to get involved in the drone industry? They are a new drone operator, and they want to make their way into the industry for, and this to become their own career.
Thanks a lot for this opportunity for me to express my opinion in this field. I think the first approach to drones should not be only technological approach. It could be educational and, everybody has to assume that without certification, I cannot provide certainty to my customers. So my first advice is, if you are interested in the drone industry, take as soon as possible those courses and training, certified training, and get the certification not only from manufacturers. That's good. but not enough. You need that certification from your air authority regulatory body, because they have to express that by credential, by any means, that you have the necessary training. So start thinking deeply on your training program. That takes me to the second advice. We will have many and more powerful drones every year. So year after year, drone technology will grow up. We will have better drones with a bigger autonomy, with better artificial intelligence tools, with bigger sensors, with bigger qualities. So what we need as drone operators is to establish a personal program to face those challenges, to understand every day a little more about artificial intelligence, robotics, aerodynamics, engaging more and more in aviation. Maybe that's the best approach I can say to the industry. But when you do that, try to get those certificates around what you are training and what you are obtaining. And that takes me to the third and last advice. Be advised that not only technological aspects have to be covered. It is about legal framework. It is about your capabilities to express your operation needs and approach to the air authorities. And you need to understand and read and know more every time about regulatory issues. Okay? I see in the near future the drone pilot will be a guy with a lot of understanding of technical aspect, but as well of regulatory aspects. If you take this example of the private commercial airplane pilot, they are in the training not only trying to get the stick to put the airplane on air, but as well air communications, because you have to communicate with the air tower. You need as well geographic information, because you have to learn how to read a map, aviation air information. So I foresee the same for drone operators. Every time we will be more effective in the geospatial world, in the air communications world, and as well in technical aspects, not only the way the drone operates and takes this flight on, but the maintenance and as well the payloads. Sometimes to my students, I express that, please don't worry about if you are not a drone pilot. If you want a place in the drone industry, you can as well understand how to create economics by drone mapping, taking those maps to the industry about maintenance technician for drones, and police work requires more than ever the imagenology understanding, the forensic work on those images taken from the drone, the aerial intelligence. I mean, there is a lot of room for people exploiting those materials from the drones. into many industries. Maybe industrial security is the best way for everyone to get in the drone industry so far. It's not about only governments or only states, but private sectors, international companies trying to get as soon as possible the best professionals in the drone security activities.
Now, there are some people who are skeptical about AI, and they believe that AI is going to kill off people's involvement faster. I mean, they don't see the drone industry being viable for people after, let's say, 5 or 10 years, because they think that many aspects of the drone operations will be picked up by AI. So instead of having one guy and one drone, or two guys and one drone, it's going to be two guys and 5 drones, 10 drones, 15 drones, drone swarm. So they believe that AI is going to kill the need for hand deck, for people's involvement faster. And that's the reason why people think it's better to avoid their involvement with the drone industry. What do you think about it? How fast do you think that AI might compete with people for their jobs within the drone industry?
That is a big question for everyone in the drone industry, because I have a lot of optimistical view of the artificial intelligence, but I'm pretty sure that it is really very intelligent, but the criteria that it could have is not good enough so far. So you can do a lot of things with artificial intelligence, but so far there is no artificial intelligence that can provide the response as a human being. So I can do small things in the right manner, but I cannot take decisions that only a human person can do, because there are not only technical issues here, but ethical as well. So when you are taking care of security for population, I sense there are no regulators and legislators that could deliver that kind of activities to a machine. There are, for sure, humans behind the moderation of the tool. So I think humans and artificial intelligence will have to get the good proportion, the good balance to create work and economics, but taking care about human safety, not only in the physical safety, but as well the political, social, other aspects of human life. So I've been working with a lot of manufacturers in my country, expressing that they employ artificial intelligence. But so far, I have not seen anyone that could provide a 95% of full compliance to the flag without the hands of a human person. There is no way. You have to create, prepare, taking care of the briefing of the mission with a human behind it. Because if you want to go forward with security, photogrammetric, mapping actions, you really need a human being understanding very well what the final product will be delivered. So I see artificial intelligence working so good, making better the way I fly the drone, for sure. That's good. It will be always a good tool for that kind of reasons. But I think no one has to be worried about that artificial intelligence in the next years could replace a human person. I don't see that. As well, I do recommend to people that I understand that they cannot rely on the machine only. No, even my regulator in Mexico, the Mexican Air Authority, is not considering in the near time, in the near short period of time, taking legislation for unmanned aircrafts. There is no regulation for that. It's only regulation for remotely piloted aircraft systems where you have a pilot in the loop. That's really now what it's. I think it has the sense for anyone to understand that you need a human person behind the drone. There is no other aspects that could replace the human person to take a machine to operate in airspace in any circumstances. I think that's my point of view so far.
Okay, so in your opinion, where do you see the industry 5 years from now, and where do you see yourself within the industry 5 years from now?
Thanks a lot for that question, because you know, every day I wake up saying, wow, what's next? I see around a lot of competitors, a lot of people working on drones, but I think in 5 years more, legislation and legal framework will be my main activities, you know, because so far I'm trying a lot of activities with creating the manuals, the procedures, the methodologies for safe operation of the drone, to express to air authority our specific operational risk perspective for each operation of the drones. I think this industry will grow up as soon as we assume as operators that we have to provide that certainty to air authority. As much as we get the best safety procedures and as we get the best tools to provide flights with the safest at the higher level of safety, I think this industry will grow up. Drone delivery, now I'm working on a program that I am very enthusiastic. Washing drones washing buildings will be bigger in the next years, and they will grow up as soon as they get the highest safety qualification from the regulatory department. That's what I see in 5 years more. Better drone pilots with higher capabilities to operate, but to create safety procedures. I think that's a future in the 5 years that are coming so far.
That's interesting. And now, in your personal journey within the drone industry, is there anything that you regret and you would have done in another way, and you would advise people not do this, not do how you did it, and change course? Is there something that you say, I wish I had done this in a different way?
It's a nice question for you as well. I think if I could go back some years ago, I would invest more money on my training than on drones. You know, I would invest more money acquiring educational process, trying to get better books, connecting with experts, not only in drone industry, but safety management. And because, you know, you require a lot of good training to create better business cases, as well as you have a bigger conscience about what you can do, what you cannot do. You will take better decisions. So in Mexico, we have good examples of companies going to the breakdown line because they did not assess the regulatory aspects and as well the industry where they were trying to get inside. One of the best examples are those trying to manufacture drones, and when they saw they cannot sell the drone as a good volume and return of investment, they struggled. They say, okay, I cannot go forward because if I provide more drones, I have more problems because the maintenance and the claims and the claims for warranties are bigger. So I think, in my perspective, I had to go to the legal framework and safety management system better in employing my training on that field than on flying skills. Okay. I provide that recommendation to your public. Please get more training, get more skills on flying, get more understanding of your rules around of your industry to take better decisions.
Very interesting. And one thing that you would be proud of achieving within the drone industry, any milestone moments that you say that, okay, that was good, I'm proud about it? Are there any moments like that, obviously?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, recently with my regulator, with Mexican Air Federal Authority, I became a regular member for the advisory committee for drones for Mexico Federal Aviation Center, Civilian Center. And I found that my career puts me in the position to provide assessment. You know, every those mistakes I made, every those flights that went wrong, I had lots of experience in 18 years with many drones. What you do not have to do. So that takes me now to a clearer mind to provide that assessment. You know, I have this perspective because I've been a drone operator, not only operating but as well manufacturing drones, and I sense this experience helps me now to provide my best recommendations, and I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of my development as a drone operator, and I think my program with kids, it's something that I feel very proud about as well, because I think when I see the faces of those boys and girls, when they fly a drone, when they understand the way they fly, it's very, very good for me. It feeds my spirit, understanding that the new generations have better opportunities than I had in my early years, and they are taking technology everywhere. They have access to many technological marvels. But my program, Drone Kids, Airspace Education for Our Kids, that's the name of my program. is something that I feel very proud so far.
Very, very interesting. Now, I met you on LinkedIn. People that know me know that, I think very highly of LinkedIn. To me, it's the only relevant social media these days.
Yeah.
So as a professional, you're on LinkedIn, you have something like 25,000 followers on LinkedIn or something like that. So you understand the importance of social media and business. How has this been helpful to you? Because even today, I find people who are, top in what they do, but they haven't grasped how beneficial LinkedIn or social media in general can be for them.
I think LinkedIn is a tool, mainly a tool for everyone trying not only to create a bigger network, but getting the better ideas for your industry. I feel really very, very blessed about coaching people just like you, because we met at LinkedIn, but people from South Korea, from Ukraine, from Colombia, from Africa. I have friends all around expressing ideas, expressing a lot about plans for the future. And every time I open my LinkedIn and I review my feeds, wow, it's something new, something that you understand and you put in perspective for your own industry. So I think LinkedIn, so far, I have more than 10 years into the social media LinkedIn, and I think I've learned tons and tons of educational aspects about not only drones. I have to say that my network has a lot of drone enthusiasts in it. But I have a lot of people with interesting ideas from agriculture, from security, from defense, from many other fields of the human knowledge, even from medicine. I learned very, very interesting things. But I think we have to nurture our network with a lot of ideas. That's really good from LinkedIn. And you can even get in touch with CEOs of the best companies and taking advice from the brighter minds in the scientific fields. And it's really interesting to see how fast and how easy you can get those fits. So,
and what comes in my mind now is that that can also, even if your network is not only drone oriented, this will help your drone involvement, because when you're in touch with people from security, they will say something and you will think as a drone guy, how could the drone give them a solution? When a man from the medicine field talks to you, you will think about transporting medicine to a place that he mentions. So it's all connected, even if it's not just drone oriented.
I think it's a new knowledge society. Everybody knows a lot of things, but not everything. So we have to express the best ideas, but we have to be cautious of taking this really seriously, trying to provide as well the best materials that you have as a person to provide to your society, to your network. That's a good opportunity that LinkedIn has for everyone as well. You can provide your thinking as well, your recommendations, your ideas in an easy manner. But I think in the near future, collaboration between countries will be more important than ever, not only for technological reasons, I mean for legal, framework for normativity, because that's what you're doing right now. You're trying to get this knowledge of me in Mexico to your public in Europe and to other countries that could review this interview. And when I reviewed your podcast, I sensed that professional approach from you to create network, to create knowledge, to create collaboration. And that's really the most important thing that we, at this industry, we have to produce now, collaboration.
And besides LinkedIn, where else can people find you? What other social media are you using? How can people reach you for business or just to socialize?
Well, mainly LinkedIn, Adrian Peña, you can find me by that name. As well, Facebook. But Facebook, it's only, I have no time sometimes to post anything in Facebook. It's not easy. My age is not helping me for that as well. I see a lot of young people creating marvelous materials, spectacular posts, but now I am in the middle of a lot of work. As well, Twitter, I think X, that's the name of the platform now, X. I've been around X many years ago. Now I'm not expressing nothing by that network, but I think there are good efforts from other networks to express ideas, but like LinkedIn, TikTok. TikTok is a good platform. I love it. It's really nice. I enjoy it, but I think it's not easy to collaborate in a serious way on that platform. There are nice and very enjoyable materials, but not the place where to collaborate seriously.
Well, X, Twitter, or X as it's currently known, it's a very good place for OSINT. Very interesting material one can find. Also on Telegram, one can find channels with very interesting people. Well, I avoid X these days because, sometimes I tend to get arguments that don't really get me anywhere, and I'm just losing my time. I use Telegram for OSINT. But for me these days, LinkedIn is by far the place that someone can, do some serious networking, get new concepts in front of him, and just, it's good for personal growth.
Yes, and as well, very, very fun. The new tools to express, this is funny. It's really nice. And I've seen videos from drone operators that not only for professional purposes, but for reflections or reacting to the operations they made. And it's really funny. Innovators, a lot of developers for software trying to get the best approach to a human touch, not only technological, but human. That's what I feel in LinkedIn. A lot of humanity, a lot of good people, nice people trying to express ideas. That's marvelous.
Now, one more question I wanted to. We chatted about this in a private chat we had the other days. Now, there are many teams in Europe, in the USA, that they don't want to spend tens of thousands for a tactical drone. And they will go and take a commercially available drone, retrofit it with a thermal camera, and they will use it. And this is okay for them because if it breaks down, it didn't cost that much. They didn't have the budget to begin with. And it gets the job done. Now, you made some interesting remarks about this the other day. We were talking, and I would like you to give us, your perception about that. Because I am also a big fan that if you can get something done with, something that if it breaks down, it's not going to kill your budget, I understand that.
Well, you know, this field, particularly in the tactical drones, I've been around it a lot of time, and I sense there are good opportunities so far with new developers, with new manufacturers. In the past 2 years, I've seen companies in Canada as well, USA, competing versus DJI, okay? This competition is good for everyone because there are new ideas, new concepts for these kind of operations, you know? But I think there is a good reason to get involved in drone industry these days, because every police department, every state will employ drones as a regular activity in the next years. So there are many good chances for anyone trying to get a good business case if they get close to those manufacturers trying to put drones in a tactical design for these departments. In my perspective in Mexico, you know, it's not only about organized crime and crime activities, but we need the drones around us. But disaster response, firefighting, and I see a lot of potential for new manufacturers in that field. 2 years ago, you were only aware of DJI as the only one who could provide, but now European companies that from France, from Germany, from Spain, I think they are reaching the tipping point in the technology and budget for the public. So I think we have this opportunity as an industry to revolutionize the businesses with better knowledge and understanding better what kind of manufacturer is good for what I am doing. I have a good friend engaged very recently with a company, and I am amazed about what they are doing with the small drones, getting into buildings, providing situational awareness for police departments, for defense forces. I think it's nice to understand that. My personal experience with a tactical drone sometimes it's good for me to express what I have been doing, but sometimes it's not a good idea because, you know, bad guys maybe sense that I was that one that couched down. It's really nice to understand that we were playing with this industry in the last years with the bad stuff. You know, it's bigger drones with a lot of problem or trouble around the batteries and energy, but situational awareness, I sense that's the most important aspect of the drone operation that police departments demand so far. Because of course, you know, I've been engaged in activities where the danger of getting hurt by the crime side, it's really big. It's very important to assess that danger. And when you have the opportunity to operate a drone with a distance from you in a good distance to operate, I think it's better than we can afford. In my experiences, the worst I have had is that organized crime group burned the vehicle where we had the drones at that time. It was at night time. When you received that message, whoa, I was scared. I said, okay, I got the message, I go away, goodbye. So I think it's important to say to people that as well. You can have good ideas, but be advised about you could take bad response for people when you're operating drones. Okay, so I think it's one advice I did not provide before.
Okay, so you mentioned the competition between companies and how this competition is, good for us, and I totally agree with that. But now this, brings the topic about the proposed DJI ban in the USA. Now it's not my job to tell to the USA what to do. And I understand that there are some valid national security ideas. There are some valid comments about national security. But at the same point, in my opinion, it's nothing more than protectionism. So if, this is protectionism, isn't it going to make it more difficult for the competition that would help everybody?
I sense that USA is taking this as a commercial war between China and USA. That's my perspective. But I am sure that drone industry has this capability to provide big data from user operators. Okay, so you have the logs. What have you been operating in the drone? What are the experiences you have? What kind of issues you have when you fly the drone? Those informations as a data, a log file from your flight goes to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer take advice of that. When they do it only for the beta designed, redesigned of the aircraft, I think that's wonderful. But maybe that data could be used to provide intelligence to other departments. And I think that's not good, because then other country knows deeply about your activities, how you do it, what results you have from them. I sense it's not an easy deal to get the complete confidentiality of the data from the manufacturer. It's going to be difficult to provide that. I sense competition could bring to the public that kind of good stuff. I mean, if the USA market is growing in the drone manufacturing, it could not grow in the best way if they have DJI competing with them. So they ban it, and they will flourish as a drone industry. I see that. It's good. As well for Canada, as well for Spain, for many other countries, because I have to say this very clearly, but I have to take this disclaimer. I see DJI with a lot of power, with a lot of marketing stuff, but they have really good commercial videos, good branding videos. Sometimes when you take the drones to the reality, you discover that it's not the same in the video branding and the video marketing that what you have on hands, okay? Yeah. So they have a wonderful, a bigger machine for marketing. That's one of those things that they could make in the last 10 years. So maybe the new competition will bring better response to reality or to real scenarios. I think for my final reply to what you are asking, that these are commercial wars, not only between China and USA, but as well as Europe. I have to say that. You have good manufacturers in Europe, Parrot from France, trying to get into the Latin American market. When they are trying to do that, they feel the DJI power of being everywhere. Another one is Wintra. Wintra has a wonderful drone. I am certified on Wintra 1 Generation 2, but I have to say this, it is really expensive so far for everyone. Not everyone can buy a Wintra. There are many other manufacturers in European soil, but as you told before very wisely, you were talking about Ukrainian University of Drones. I sense there are many business cases from that experience in war scenarios to civilian scenarios. So there are a lot of companies from Ukraine trying to commercialize, but sadly they have to face the war so far. We hope that war could end as soon as possible, and because people is being hurting on that war, and when that war is over, I'm pretty sure all that experience will feed another civilian cases for use. So I think Ukraine will become very soon in a good competitor with their companies taking care of the civilian sector.
Oh, let's hope this will end at some point, and let's see how it will end, because this will dictate,
Yes.
The future.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we are reaching the end of our friendly discussion. Any last thoughts you would like to share? Any last advice you would like to share with the people?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for your kindness, your interest on taking this meeting. I appreciate it so much. And I appreciate this opportunity you provide me to connect with a lot of people more. I think in Mexico, we have a good understanding of the geopolitical issues around the globe. And as we are far from the war scenario now, we have a lot of problems as well in our soil with immigration, with organized crime activities, with disaster response activities. And we feed a lot about your experiences in Europe. I congratulate all the drone industry in Europe because you are creating a lot of experiences for the worldwide use. And I hope in the next years we can experience a better industry with better capabilities for all people to get a good job, a good commercial and economical approach from the drone industry, because there is no other way for this industry to grow up if the people around it is not getting a good result from their activities. So thank you so much. Thank you a lot for your community. And I hope when you come to Mexico, please let me know to receive you in this country.
If you come to Greece first, I will be happy to, receive you and, do something together. So that's all for tonight, people of the Drone Pioneers Podcast. I hope this has been a very informative and thought-provoking conversation. Mr. Peña, thank you very much for your time, and I hope we meet again down the road. That's all for tonight, and thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.